and the Lord has been very gracious to us over the years, catching bull redfish in Caminada Pass. And I want to share some of the detailed locations and techniques so that if you will reach out and pray for success fishing in Jesus' name, maybe you'll catch a lot of big bull redfish also. So these are just some of the pictures from fishing trips over the years. And we catch a lot of redfish in a lot of places in Louisiana, but Caminada Pass has consistently been a great place for catching the bigger redfish. So before we talk about the detailed locations, and we will get into that, let's talk about equipment. Bull redfish call for some stout equipment, and this is a 7-foot ugly stick, and this has a large spinning reel. This happens to be a Shimano Spheros 6000, and it's spooled up with 65-pound Power Pro, and we have a 6-ounce sinker, an 80-pound monofilament leader, and this is a 7-0 Gamakatsu hook, and it's the normal J hook rather than the circle hook. We've tried lots of different hooks over the years, and we've settled on this one, and now we don't use anything else for fishing for bull redfish and bull drum because it simply has the highest hookup rate. Other people say they prefer circle hooks or something different. We don't. This is the one that gets the high percentage of hookups. One can fish with smaller spinning reels and lighter line. We've caught a lot of redfish over the years. This is a 3000 size reel with 40-pound Power Pro, and you can certainly catch your share of bull reds on this. But what we've learned is that occasionally there are rocks, or there's structure, or there's the bridge, and you need to tighten down the drag and horse the larger fish away from structure. Otherwise, they're simply going to break off. And when that moment comes, it's better to have a larger reel and more like 65 to 80-pound Power Pro rather than 20 to 40-pound Power Pro on the smaller reel. We also fish a lot with level wind reels that we spool up with 80-pound Power Pro. The disadvantage there is you can't really cast them very far. You're just letting your bait down into the current, and it just kind of finds its spot near the bottom behind the boat, wherever the current happens to take it. And you can't really cast it. And we prefer having an option to at least cast a few of the lines, and maybe a couple of the lines you just let drift behind the boat. Okay, so other than the equipment, from a technique point of view, all you're looking to do is put a cracked crab or a cut piece of mullet on one of those hooks and get it as close to the bottom as you can. Sometimes the current is moving pretty quickly in Caminada Pass, so you'll need a 4 to 6 ounce sinker and try and get it as close to the bottom as you can. Now, this is a map of the pass. So this is where the pass enters into the Gulf of Mexico. This is Elmer's Island here. This is the Highway 1. This is the bridge over the pass into Grand Isle, and this is Grand Isle right here. So you're well oriented to the pass. The boat launch that's most convenient is the one at Burnside Marina right here, although there's a few other boat launches around. This one just happens to be particularly convenient because it's right in the pass, and this is where we usually launch. And the first place that we like is in this area here, just off the beach in Elmer's Island. And so let me zoom in there. So this is just off the beach in Elmer's Island, and this is the side of the pass, and the marina would be up here off the screen. So this is a real good spot right here. Now, you don't want to be so close to the beach that you're in really shallow water, or that you're interfering with anglers who might be fishing from the beach. But there's sort of a sweet spot where the depth of the water falls off quickly, and that's where you want to be. You also want to be either right off this kind of point or elbow, and if the tide is going in, you want to be about here, so your baits drift to here. If the tide's going out, you might want to be just a little closer to the bridge, so the outgoing tide will tend to get your baits drifting back around to this point. And you want to be on the slope, right? There's shallow water here where it's 4, 6, 8 feet deep, and then the deepest part of the pass is like 40 feet deep. So you want to be in the higher teens, like maybe 18 to 24 feet of water. Throw a few baits back toward the beach into shallower water, and throw a few baits back into deeper water. And if conditions in the pass permit, this is the best spot. This is our highest percentage spot. Now, the challenging thing under some conditions is this is north on the map, and in the prevailing southeasterly winds, the pass is open to the open Gulf of Mexico, so sometimes the winds kick up some waves, and there's simply too much wave action in the best spots, and all the other 4 spots that we'll point out in the pass are pretty good too. Now, this is one of the more protected spots in the pass, right up here. It's north of the bridge, and there's a sort of a bottleneck here and a nice deep hole here because the tides rip through this bottleneck pretty quickly, and there's some industrial stuff here, and there's a marsh island here, and so you want to get on the slope either as the slope's going from the marsh island, which again you get into shallow water 4 to 6 feet deep. The deepest part here is about 40 feet deep. Find the spot between 15 and 25 feet deep. Try and anchor over that spot and throw a few baits into the shallower water toward the island, and a few baits into the deeper water where the water's ripping through a little faster. If that northern spot is occupied, the southern spot is pretty good fishing too. Depending on the boat traffic, you want to make sure you don't anchor up in the way of where there's a lot of boat traffic there. But again, find the spot next to the southern point between 15 and 25 feet of water. Throw some baits into deeper water and some baits into shallower water. Okay, a third spot in Caminada Pass that's really good for the bull reds is kind of in the bridge area. And the bridge area is just more of a landmark. It's not really the structure that you're trying to fish. In fact, because it's so easy for the fish to break off, and the fishing piers here were an old bridge, so there's a line of pilings right where the pointer is right here. So if you're fishing on this side of the bridge, there's a whole lot of structure there for fish to break off in, and we find don't try and fish the structure, but try and put yourself, if there's an outgoing tide about right here, and find the spot. Once again, the channel is here, so find the spot on the edge of the channel where the water's quickly getting deep, again between 15 and 25 feet of water. The deepest part of the channel is probably 40 to 45 feet of water. Find the spot here on an outgoing tide, throw a few baits into the channel, into the deeper water, a few baits into the shallower water. And the reason you want to be on this side of the bridge in an outgoing tide is because your baits, and odds are most of the fight with the fish, will be downstream. So once you hook up with 42-inch long, 25, 30-pound redfish, it stays downstream of the bridge and doesn't get into that structure and break off. Likewise, if you have an incoming tide set up just north of the bridge, again on the slope, about 15, 25 feet of water, throw some baits in the deeper water, some baits into the shallower water, and so that when you hook up, the tide will take your bait, and the fish will spend most of its time away from the bridge so it doesn't get into the structure and break you off. Alright, the last spot that we like, the fourth good spot that we like in Caminada Pass, is right here along the rocks. So here's Burnside Marina. Here's where you launch the boat and you go out. Here's the fishing pier. So you just tool around to this spot here. Now there's a flat here if you get too close to the rocks. You don't really want to be too close to the rocks. Once again, you want to find the spot in 15 to 20 feet of water where there's a steep slope between the flat area and the channel, and once again throw a few of your baits out in the channel, a couple of your baits back into the shallower water toward the rocks, and hold on, because a big redfish will be along shortly to take the bait, and you have a wonderful fight on your hands. Alright, Messianic Michael here. We're at the Calcasieu Pass jetties fishing for redfish, and we're just outside of the western cut. You can see that there's some other boats around today, some other people fishing, and it's a beautiful day. The great thing about fishing for redfish here at Calcasieu Pass is that fishing is very comparable all season long. You don't have to change up the techniques. And our favorite technique is to use cracked crab on a size 7/0 Gamakatsu hook. You just need 2 to 4 ounces to get them to the bottom, and I'll show you how we create 2 pieces of bait out of 1 crab. So this is a 6-inch special buck knife. It just splits the crab right in half. Usually remove the claws, and then the crab gets hooked up. Are we in view? And the crab gets hooked up in through the back leg, out through the bottom of the shell, just like that, and then just put it on the bottom somewhere. Okay, so this is how you prepare cut mullet. Cracked crab is our favorite bait for bull redfish, but sometimes you run out of crab, and sometimes other things happen. So in that case, you want to use cut mullet, and this is just a store-bought mullet about 10 or 12 inches long. We've given it a little time to start to thaw a little bit, and you make the first cut right behind the fin, and the second cut about 1.5 inches, 2 inches further back. And then to hook it up, when you're hooking up the head, a head this big, you can't really go through both eyes, so I go in one eye and out the mouth so that the mullet is baited on the hook like that. Now, when you're talking about one of the center slices, what you want to do is you go in one side through the flesh where you cut it, and then you come out through the skin. And what this does is it provides nice barb and point hanging out of the skin, and holds it on pretty tight and makes it hard to steal. Alright, so when you're hooking up the head part, you want to go in through one eye, and you go out through the bottom of the mouth there, and so you've got plenty of point to catching the fish once the fish bites, and that's how you hook the head up. Now with one of the body slices, you go in through the body slice where it's been cut right into the meat, and you come out through the skin, and this holds on real tight, so it's harder for the fish to steal, but the point is well exposed, so the fish gets hooked when it takes a bite. Okay, so the goal with cut mullet is you want a number of bite-sized chunks, and these are bull redfish, so the mouths are pretty big. So you cut the head about 2 inches long, cut it right behind the fin, another piece 1.5 to 2 inches long, and then you can make 4 pieces out of a mullet this size. This becomes a third slice. And you hook up the same way we showed it on the other ones, in through the cut and out through the skin, and then you hook up the tail in a similar way.